Hey, have you ever wondered what it takes to rank in Google? Well, in this week's episode, I show you exactly what it takes to rank in Google and what we're seeing this week, June 1st, 2022, of the changes that have happened in the SERPs and what it takes to rank in Google for all the billions of data points that we see this week at SERPWoo. Hi, thanks for joining me on this week's episode. I'm your host, Jason Brown, the co founder of SERPWoo and the inventor of SERP tracking. Now, I want to show you what's changed this week. We've got a lot of rumblings and a lot of talk and a lot of chatter about what's happened in the SERPs, what's been going on with this algorithm update that we predicted here at SERPWoo that actually did come full circle and be announced by Google. And we go and show you who are the winners, who's are the losers, and what we see through our billions of data points, looking at thousands of factors of what it takes to rank in Google. Now, the information I'm sharing with you is going to be broad and generic as we are looking over a ton of data points, a lot of factors, but you can use SERPWoo to actually hone in on just your keywords, what's working for just your individual keywords, what's working for your group of keywords, like say your niche or your industry or your topic, maybe just for your website. We've found out that what it takes to rank isn't just generic, plain garbage, rehashed SEO advice that a lot of pundits and gurus seem to spit out. It's actually individual per keyword. Now, there is a lot of overlap, obviously, but what it takes to rank, say, in the higher education industry is going to be wildly different than what it takes to rank for, say, a DUI attorney in Michigan or even for e commerce products. So, you really need to hone in and look at your keyword and have an analysis tool like SERPWoo to be able to show you what it takes to rank for your specific industry for any given time period. But today, let's go ahead and look at what we've seen generically as far as big shifts through our data here with SERPWoo. So let me switch screens here. So if you go through and look at our last video, which was for May 24th, that we published on May 25th, right here, you'll see that we were getting close to that 16% mark here. We actually can hone in here. It was 15.92. Let's just round it up to 16. And if you are a user of SERPWoo or if you've watched any of my prior videos, you know that once we start crossing 15%, we start looking at potentially either an algorithm update or some kind of a shuffling. This might be an unnamed update. This might be a lot of volatility. Anything over 15 for SERPWoo is usually some shuffling, and it doesn't have to be a named update from Google. So we did see that on the 24th. And I predicted on the 24th that this was possibly going to be an algorithm update. So you can go back and watch that video if you want to. We've got the 25th, which kind of stayed a little bit over 15. It did come down a little bit from the 24th. But then the 26th, we almost reached 20%. We haven't seen that in a long time here at SERPWoo, getting up to 20%. You know, a lot of times we see things under 15. We usually see things when they cross 15, approach 16 and 17, but 20, almost 20% is pretty major. And then we see it kind of roll down to basically 16 here at 15.9, 15.7. And then on the 29th, we get back up to 16 and a half. So again, our last video was on the 24th. So we're just going through the last week here. And then it comes down, kind of stays about the same. And today, June 1st, we've actually got up to 16.7. Now, today is not over. We're still analyzing data for today here at SERPWoo. So this number here at 16.7 isn't really statistically relevant since we haven't calculated all of today's data. But, there's possibly still going to be some shuffling. My best advice for you all, if you are seeing this, is don't do anything to your websites right now. Don't massively go change things. If you were somebody who were impacted by this volatility, by this shuffling, just leave things alone for a couple weeks and let this shake out. So now let's dive into the factors. Okay. So normally in all my videos, I show you the factors when we started this series way back in April. But I'm going to actually just show the last 3 weeks here instead of going all the way back to April. If you want to see the prior data, which is important, even though it's old, you can go watch the other videos. The reason why I tell you to do that is one of the reasons is I really want you all to look at what factors seem to come up each week. Now, sometimes in these analysis, I see factors that come in that are new that we haven't seen before. Sometimes I see factors drop out. But what's key is looking at the factors that stay week to week, that have longevity. So that's why it's important to go watch these old videos. That's why I'm keeping this spreadsheet to follow along. But, I'm going to predict keywords in H2 is always going to be around. It's going to have longevity, while other factors like maybe like word count right here drop in and out week to week or every month to month. But learning what factors that have longevity is going to help you with your SEO game here. So for this week, what we're looking at here is keywords in H2. Definitely still a top factor. A brief side note, we have thousands of factors that we're looking at over our billions of data points. And this video and this spreadsheet are only representing the top 20 of those thousands of factors. Now, if there's something missing here, like if you see this week word count is not in the factor list, it was last week, that doesn't mean that word count's not important. Again, this is just the top 20. Word count could have been sitting this week at 25th. It's still important. It's still a high ranking factor. It just didn't break the top 20. And the reason why you don't see 20 items is that a lot of these factors overlap, like with keywords for H2. This overlaps because we count keywords in H2 as one factor, but we also count keywords that show up in H1 through H3 as a factor. So there's 3 headings there in that one factor, but H2 overlaps. We also have another factor, keywords in H1 through H6. So that's 6 headings in one factor. H2 is a part of that. And if, those factors, those 3 factors, keywords in H2, keywords in H1 to H3, keywords in H1 to H6, those 3 factors, what overlaps the most was the H2. So that's why we have H2 here instead of, as one factor instead of as 3 factors. So I just condensed the overlapping duplicate, what's the most important out of that factor. With page size, there's some duplicate there. There's page size, there's body tag size, there's HTML size. What's coming out of that is the size, basically. So I grouped it as page size. So that's why you see one factor for that instead of 3. So this is why you're seeing what you're seeing. But, this week we're seeing keywords in H2. That's been every week we've done these videos. Keywords in sentences, keywords in titles. Big tip here, guys. I'm not going to let everything out in this video. There is some secret sauce we have to keep here at SERPWoo for ourselves and for our premium members that pay us a subscription fee. But pay attention to titles. Titles were really big this round. There's a lot more that went into keywords and titles, meaning, hint, the types of keywords in the titles. So while keywords and titles is important, we all know that in SEO, the types of keywords is what really impacted. Be thinking like review sites, the keywords that might be in those, keywords that are in roundups. The types of keywords were really important. That was huge on this update. Page size, keywords in meta description, keywords in H1, keywords in H3. This has been repeated the last 3 or 4 weeks. It hasn't been repeated every week, but it looks like the keywords in H1 and H3 are starting to gain some longevity, and the number of outbound links. Now, what changed from last week? We obviously don't have the number of images being a top factor. Let me scoot this down here. I just realized you all can't see all of this. Number of outbound links right here. But what changed was number of images weren't as important. Now, I'm not saying they're not important. They just didn't break the top 20. And word count. So word count usually plays kind of in the page size a little bit. A large part of your page size will probably be word count or words and sentences, not just HTML tags and inline JavaScript. But word count didn't make it as a top 20 factor. Number of images didn't, but number of outbound links did. So, if you've been hit for the last 2 weeks, maybe last 3 weeks, maybe look at outbound links. If you were just hit this week only, I'd probably start paying attention to, the keywords that you're using, the placements of them. Are they in the H2? Are they in the H1 and H3 really well? How are your keywords looking in your titles? What is your page size? What is the number of outbound links? Do you have too many? Do you have too few? And to be able to answer that question, that's where you would use a tool like SERPWoo with our tool within SERPWoo called Zora that can actually look at your keyword, analyze all of Google for all of the pages ranking for your keyword, especially on the front page, but it does look at the top 100 and tell you for your keyword, for your industry, for your niche, this is the number of outbound links you need. Maybe you only need 2 and you've got 0. Maybe you need 6 and you've only got 1. Zora will really help you zone into that. Now, let me switch screens back here that I've showed you everything. Let's get into some discussion here. Usually with these videos, I show you what's working this week, and I go over a lot of on-page factors. And it's very broad. It's very generic. And I usually leave it at that. So I'm going to add a little bit because this is a major shuffling. Like I said prior, the types of keywords that you're using in your titles, it's not just about your specific keyword. Let's say you sell carpenter bee traps. People that live in the South, you know what carpenter bees are. You sell carpenter bee traps. I'm not telling you look at the wording of carpenter bee traps in your title, like with LSI or related keywords. I'm really looking again at like review sites, roundups, listicles, stuff like that. Those are the types of keywords that really look like they won out this round. Start thinking, best carpenter bee traps of 2022, the top 20 greatest carpenter bee traps of all time. Those types of additional words in your titles. Now, this is going to tie into my next tip. There is a lot of YouTube videos showing up after this algorithm update. Prior, not to say that YouTube wasn't showing up in the SERPs, but, it had a small impact. Maybe one video, maybe 2 videos, maybe no videos for your chosen keywords. After this update, the YouTube videos have started to dominate and replace and kick out other websites. Google is favoring its own property. We're playing in their sandbox, so we got to play by their rules. YouTube is really shining through. If there's a YouTube video that can take over your SERP, it's definitely showing right now for most people. And if you really think about it, a lot of these YouTube videos, they have those particular keywords I was just talking about in their titles. The best carpenter bee traps of 2022. That sounds like the perfect YouTube video that we know we've all seen. The top 10 most awesome carpenter bee traps ever. That sounds like a YouTube video, right? So this is why you're seeing particular importance to titles. This is why you're seeing maybe your website being kicked down or kicked out because a YouTube video replaced it. YouTube is going to be taking up more real estate after this update. I don't know how long it's going to last. It might be a few weeks. It might be till the next update. But Google's going to make sure that they're showing their properties, they're showing their interest, that they're making their money. If you've been in SEO for any amount of time, you've watched this. Personally, I've been ranking websites since before Google, back in the days of the Yahoo directory and DMOZ, where I manipulated those listings as a DMOZ editor and in the Yahoo directory as well. And I watched as Google came up, as a popular website, ranking what websites on Google. And anytime Google can get more real estate for themselves, whether that's with the zero placement or the answer, where they're basically taking content off your website and using that as a direct answer for a search query, or if that's placing more ad units, if that's placing more YouTube videos or placing more of their own properties in some way, they're going to do that. So this might be something that's just for this quarter of the year. This might be something more permanent, but that's my second tip. If you haven't done YouTube videos, you need to start making YouTube videos about your keywords. YouTube is already a large search property on its own, has a lot of traffic. So if you weren't making YouTube videos, you were already missing out. Now they're just claiming more search traffic on google.com, and you're going to be missing out on that too. So that's my second tip. It's definitely the first one, pay attention to the titles. The second one, YouTube videos. I make YouTube videos too. I know very well these creators are on YouTube. They're split testing thumbnails. They're split testing titles all the time. That's really something a lot of people don't do in search with textual content websites. Some people do, but a lot don't. YouTube, it's a lot different. So you're probably going to start seeing a lot of variations in titles and Google paying attention to titles simply because of these YouTube listings on google.com. So that's it for right now. If you want to do me a favor because you like these videos, you want to see more about them, please go watch another video on our channel, another SERPWoo video. We've got a whole series about backlinking and how you can get some really easy, high authority backlinks. Many of them are do follow. Many of them are indexable and crawlable. All of them are high authority. Go watch one of those videos. Also, please like, subscribe, comment, get notified so that when I publish another one of these videos next week, you're one of the first ones to watch it and gain this valuable information and insight. And if you want, we're running a special at SERPWoo also, where if you sign up today, you get 20% bonus keywords. Don't know how long that's going to last, so please take advantage of that while you can. And I'll catch you on the next episode next week. And hope you get your rankings back if you've lost any. Talk to you later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.